Hello and welcome to post-match reaction to the Chiefs versus the Waratahs, and what a cracker of a game. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, your best place for rugby predictions and opinion, and joining me to have, apparently I think it's called a yammer in the States, about this is Arswin. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, not bad. I was feeling a bit sleepy before the game, but that was a cracker. Definitely kept you up.
It was. And first off, before we get into the game, congratulations to Mr. Bernard Foley on his 100th cap. Round of applause.
Encore. Good milestone. Congratulations, well done. Shame about the result for him, because the score was 39-27 to the Chiefs in the end. Looked like a cold but dry night to start off with. Yeah, it was interesting, when in that first sort of 15, 20 minutes, and the commentators going on about, I think that the Waratahs are run out of puff. It's just like, yeah, they're breathing in cold air. You get that way a little bit, where as your body acclimatizes. Anybody who's played sport, like I was out there this morning with the little kids, and you noticed it then. It's just like, it takes a little bit to sort of get used to that cold air going through your lungs.
So you reckon? Okay, so you reckon it's that? You think that the fitness wasn't an issue for the task tonight then?
Well, if the fitness was the problem, they would have got smoked in the end, wouldn't they? Because after 10 or 15, apparently they were out on their feet and doing teapots.
Teapots, oh dear me. I'm in a teapot, short and stout. Here's my handle. Yes, I can imagine. I can imagine Jacoby Kepu prancing around the pitch, going, "I'm a teapot." Yes, no, that's. Sorry, there will be some talk of rugby this evening. We do promise. Not all of it talk will be rugby, apparently. Anyway, so go on.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, first try, and I've got the highlights just in front of me, and they're showing it. Now, look, it was a great start from the Waratahs, wasn't it? It was just look clinical.
Yeah, they're good stuff from the Waratahs. They got the best of the early kicking exchange, and it was interesting, I thought, early on to see the ref calling forward passes. And we had quite a few forward passes called in this game, which, we've been complaining for a long time that, hey, it's not called. And then when it was called, we've got the commentator going, I think that was harsh. It's like, shut up, commentator, just leave. Why are you complaining about every single ref decision? Shut up, please. And that's the New Zealand ones complaining, saying that the Tars were having a hard time.
Well, mainly the Tars, but a little bit both ways. But technically speaking, they were both forward passes, from that first movement. The Waratahs should have scored, but it was a forward pass, scrum to the Chiefs. For some reason, they tried to run it outside from deep inside their 22. Forward pass, which was, again, technically correct, so you can't complain. And the Waratahs then decide to score off their next scrum movement.
Yeah, and this was one of the things that we saw from that. It was lovely first phase move off the back of a scrum. They knew their scrum was going to be under pressure all night, and they did the right thing. They got the ball out quickly, quick strike the ball straight at the back. Let's play it. No messing around.
Messing around scrum. Look, two things from that play. Obviously, with the first tries, but we'll talk about the first try first. Is the fact is that the Chiefs were looking for Folau coming in. And that's what created that space on the outside, is that they had concertinaed the defence inside the midfield where Folau was running the inside lines and the straighter lines, and they basically missed him, cut him out altogether, and went out wide, and that's where space was. And then it was basically a one-on-none straight run into the line. Simple try.
Yeah, simple try, but good hands. The passing was all crisp, and it was perfect move off the training paddock. And then something very similar again, same setup in the backs, but this time off a line out. Charlie Nartai got his read slightly wrong, which left a gap, and this time they didn't go out the back door. It stayed in the players who were on the line, straight through again, run through pretty much untouched.
Yeah, again, you just got that feeling that the defence was looking at where's Izzy in the back line. And really as you said, a misread in the Chiefs' defensive line, and it was just a straight run through, really. Quite simple. Just coming back to that first try, I mean, the other point that I liked out of that, and as you alluded to, was the fact is that, we've been talking about with the new scrum rules, where the hooker has to hook the ball. If your scrum's under pressure, you just basically open up your locks and you fire it out to the bottom of the number 8's feet, and it's exactly what they did. The speed of the ball from the hooker to number 8 and then out of there was so quick, and it meant that that pressure that the scrum was under was non-existent, even though it should have been there.
No, I know the guy takes a lot of flack, but Brian Moore, the ex-England hooker, now rugby commentator, obviously in the UK, and he says, basically, if you brace your whole scrum, you hook it quickly, and you should be able to brace long enough to quickly get it out, and that's what you do if you're in trouble. And he bemoans the lack of the lack of hooking, and that's obviously that's kind of come back in the last season or two. And that's, but both of those were a little bit against the run of play. I mean, the Chiefs had more of the play at that point, but I think that they were playing the long game, because they were playing at pace, making mistakes because the Tars defence was coming up so quickly. But the whole point of it was to tire out the defence, so that later on, when they were trying to do it, they would get away with it, because the Tars wouldn't be quite up so quickly. And whilst you're saying they didn't actually they didn't tire as that stuff, that I still think I think that was definitely part of the game plan.
Yeah, absolutely. That was the game plan from the start. Was the Chiefs were working on tiring out the Waratahs. I don't think they actually achieved it. I actually thought that the Waratahs bench was actually stronger. It didn't pan out for them in the end, but when you look at the players that actually came on, they probably had a bit more experience coming off the bench than the Chiefs had, and you would have thought that they might have been able to do something with it, but they weren't.
Now, an interesting fact, I mean, the two starting props for the Chiefs didn't have contracts at the start of the season, and have come in because of other injuries, and then have earned themselves starting places. So that shows you the kind of level of the experience that the Chiefs had. That the Chiefs had, yeah. And we're just going to take a little advert break here to say, please press the like button below, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get all our videos in upcoming times. If you're listening to the podcast, obviously don't forget to subscribe there too, and give us a 5-star review. Back to your normal coverage, so after the Chiefs finally got through some phases, and I think it was 10 phases, and eventually Retallick bashed over, or actually went through a gap put through by Mackenzie. Retallick, another player, had a fantastic game tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, after the start that the Tars had, you sort of thought, ooh, this will be interesting. They had no ball, but every time they had the ball, they scored a try. But conversely, every time the Chiefs had the ball, the forwards hammered it forward. Basically, they got momentum going forward, and then that try just bashing away. Mackenzie, as you say, nice little offload to Retallick off a big man's shoulder, and the Smurf went over under the bar.
The Smurf, or was he auditioning for Avatar? I think he's Avatar. Avatar. He's a bit too small a bit too big for a Smurf, but I think he's much more like an Avatar. I think he could have been part of that one.
Just on, classic Brodie Retallick though, isn't it? And I think the commentators made the comment, one of the best players going around. No, he is the best player going around. That was like back-like handling, running off your centre or your second five on his shoulder, taking the ball and then taking the gap and going over for a try.
Yeah, no, absolutely. He had a good game the whole time. I did actually tweet out when it was 0-14. It was, and I said, anyone remember the Crusaders game? Because it was sort of smacking of the Tars running out to a big lead and then getting drawn and then getting sort of hauled back,
reeled in.
They didn't run out to the same kind of lead. I got a lot of responses from Waratahs people saying we'd rather remember the Highlanders game. So I got quite a bit of response to that. And it's like, yeah, but if it resembled the Highlanders game, i.e. someone got red carded early on, I'd have said, does anyone remember the Highlanders game? But it didn't resemble that game. It resembled the Crusaders game, which is why I kind of mentioned it. So yes, that was they came and did that. There's something I noticed, and being the kind of nerdy people that we are,
That guy.
Yeah, that guy, me being nerdy, and I know you're nerdy too. I was surprised to see the Chiefs having their loose head prop at being the most rear man at the line out. Now, in my day, your props stood 1 and 3 in the line out because your second as lifters for your lock who stood at 2. So having your loose head prop stood at 7 at the back of the line out was a big surprise to me. He was the guy that went round and sacked the ruck when they held off. And then I noticed that he was stood there again. Any kind of thoughts as to why, or did you notice that?
Well, the only thing I could think of is the fact is that obviously you make if you're throwing the ball in particular, obviously in a defensive situation, I've got no answers. But in an attacking situation, it could be the fact that, okay, they're going to lift their last man, and so it means that the defensive line out, in this case the Waratahs, have to also be prepared to lift their last man, which means that if the ball's going off the top, over the top, and for the back line, then your number 7, who's normally at the back of the line out, can't then rab it off quickly because he's expecting to lift that last man. I don't know. That's,
good call.
I see
what you mean. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because normally you'd have 6, 8, 7 would be the back 3 at the line out, and the 6 and 7 would lift the 8. Or if the 6 is
or the 6 is a jumper, whichever. But that's the thoughts there. But as I said, in a defensive situation, I'm not sure that doesn't make any sense in a defensive situation, apart from the fact that you know that he's going to go around and sack them all.
Yeah, so it was interesting. Just an interesting little nerdy fact for you there, folks. We do spot some of these things and do dive into a little bit of detail sometimes. Where do we go next? Harris got the next try. There were too many tries in this one. I'm trying to keep track of them all. So Harris got the try after a turnover by the Tars. They spun it wide. They then lost the ball. There was a ruck that they had to commit too many players for. Came out the back of the ruck. Messam picked it up, went through, and good try by Harris. A good play by Messam. There were quite a lot of turnovers in this game, though. It felt like. Quick look at the stats: so 17 each, and playing out your own 22. I like the adventure, but I'm not. Nairavora is not the kind of guy I want to be having it running from my 22. I like it halfway maybe, but not from the 22. He's not a long distance runner.
Look, what we've seen with Nairavora is the fact is that when he comes up against good teams, he's actually quite anonymous, really. He really didn't have an impact on tonight's game. And the fact that they tried to bring him into the game, the Chiefs' defence had him covered. They didn't miss him once, I don't believe. I don't think anybody got bumped off and a secondary tackle had to be made. I think his first up tackles were made on him. So I think it was a bit of a non-event. In fact, he became a liability and he was subbed in the second half.
Yeah, definitely the around this sort of time was when the kicking game started to take over, and there was a horrendous number of kicks. Just look at it, I guess. But there was a very big number of kicks. 33 kicks from hand by the Chiefs. 34 kicks by the Waratahs. That's at least twice as many as you see in a normal game.
That's a lot of kicking, and Bernard Foley might have had his 100th game of Super Rugby, but you sort of see the difference in class as well. He's not a premium number 10. Any sort of New South Welshman listening in or watching in will be having apoplectic fits, but I was watching that game and you think that Folau and Beale are world class, but unfortunately Foley sort of execution from first 5 was not good enough.
I'm not sure. I think that he definitely makes them tick. He is one of their key guys. I remember 2 seasons ago when he went and played the off season in Japan and sort of came back with having had no pre-season and no rest, and so missed the first half of the season because he was basically unfit, or he was basically knackered. And as soon as he came back, they started winning again. So the drop off from him to the next guy is very big.
Oh, it's massive, absolutely. Not disagreeing there at all. But I think that the key is that you got to compare. your benchmark is the New Zealand teams. And when you benchmark them against, you sort of say they started winning, obviously not against the New Zealand teams, because they've had that hot runs of Aussie teams not winning against New Zealand teams, which has started again, but that's an aside. But what I saw tonight was that his kicking and he had the one kick out on the full at a crucial time as well, but his kicking to space wasn't there. He was kicking to a Chiefs player. They had it covered. You looked at the variety that Damien McKenzie was bringing to the kicking, as well as other Chiefs players, with the short kick, the long kick. You couldn't just set your defence back for the kick. You know, they had to. Waratahs got caught out. The fact is that they didn't have somebody covering in short; they only had them deep. So there was short kicking happening, and regather the ball. And for me, Bernard Foley didn't sort of read that. All his kicks were basically going to the Chiefs man at the back. He wasn't finding space.
Yeah, and it's comments in the chat here. He's still the best 10 in Australia. Yep. And he probably was playing his best rugby a couple of years ago at the Rugby World Cup back in 2015. And he hasn't been, perhaps he isn't quite up to that standard still at the moment. But, I mean, his kick, you say, he kicked out in the full. We saw Folau also kick out in the full. And the Tars kicking wasn't as good as the Chiefs kicking. No. Tonight. That was definitely for sure. We then had one of those long overthrows that Charlie Nartai picked up. This one he managed to catch on the big. Go on then. Sorry, I can see the shaking of the head.
No, you carry on. Do the description and then we'll dig into it.
Charlie Nartai managed to take it on the full. I think it's probably actually the second one that happened. When it had the breakdown, D-Mac got spun wide, and then D-Mac managed to roll over under Folau's attention, whatever it is, and managed to get the ball down. But yeah, go on then. Shaking your head. You don't like these long throws?
So, the ball has to be outside the 15 before before either side can come in, right? There is no way in hell that Charlie Nartai is not progressing before that ball is over the 15. No way. And it happened. It wasn't only once, and so you get to see it a couple of times. There is absolutely no way that he is getting there with the time that he has as well, with the ball with him starting his run once the ball has gone over the 15-metre mark.
Now he's starting his run when the ball is thrown to be there on time.
No, you're not. But the thing,
I'm not. Yeah, I'm saying. I understand you're saying that's not allowed and that's illegal, but that's how he's doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. He's running it as soon as the ball's thrown in, and therefore he is encroaching the space that he's not allowed to be in. And how can a referee not pick that up? If we look at it on, a lot of times when we look at rush defences, for example, we'll go, shit, are they really onside? Sorry. Are they really onside? And you question that, you do question that. And you look back and say, oh no, they were onside. But so in that sort of scenario where a player has so quite clearly made it to the ball so easily without a defender even on him, with an overthrow and ball over the line. Now I know it's intentional, it's not a sort of thing. And for the referee not to sort of think, hang on, I might check that next time at least. Even if he's sort of, okay, you don't go back and have a look at that as a TMO type thing. No, I totally agree with that. But you're sort of going to look for it the next time and say, hang on, he got there rather quickly, but I'll keep an eye on it. And that's, lots of conversations that defensive captains have is that, can you have a look at that next time? And surely the ref should be in his own head saying, I might have a look at that next time. And guess what? It happened again.
A couple of times. Jack's saying, how long has it been that has it rule been around? Yeah, pretty much forever. But it's never enforced for overthrows. It's only enforced for where it's caught in the line out, and then the ref holds both sides back until the line out has completed, whatever that kind of means. And then he allows the teams to come in. And that's what he's also looking at the defensive side rather than the attackers generally on this. But yes, whilst it has been the law, to be fair to this particular referee tonight, it's something that referees never call at all. So because there's been a whole bunch of chat on Twitter during the week about the fact that Jackman is an ex-Chiefs player. Jackson is an ex-Chiefs player. Yes. And about 3 years ago, New Zealand supporters were complaining that he was doing derby matches that the Chiefs were involved in, and we've stopped it because we've realised he isn't biased towards the Chiefs in any way, shape, or form, and that there is no problem with him refereeing.
Look, I suppose that brings us up on the topic of neutral refs, and it's just a really stupid scenario where Sansa, for some reason, just doesn't do neutral refs, and then that takes that whole argument out of the equation, and that's what they should be doing. Is the fact that we should just be
disagree, because if we're going to go for neutral refs, then we're talking it has to be always a foreign ref. I just know,
yep.
And we already know we don't have enough money to try to compete on salaries with European sides. So why are we going to waste money on something that just isn't needed?
Well, I don't know. I think there is, there's too often there is that view. I mean, like we know hometown advantage already can sway refs. I can't help but think that even in subconscious, there's the odd 50-50 call that might go the home team's way or the team that you represented's way. I'm going to have to disagree with you. We're going to have a disagreement on this one because I don't think that it has actually been clarified or cleared either. The fact that the Glenn Jackson hasn't preferred the Chiefs or the Crusaders for that fact, because he seems to have a thing for the Crusaders as well. So no, I've seen it, and I'm going to disagree. I don't rate Glenn Jackson as a referee. I thought he didn't have a good game tonight either, and there was definitely some calls which were again 50-50, possibly 50-50 that went the Chiefs' way. I don't know if it would have made a difference to the end result, but yeah, I'm not a fan of Glenn Jackson's, and I haven't rated him.
You're not a fan of most refs, to be fair. He's been doing it all night, ref. Yeah, right. Okay, and that's 1 minute into the game. But the so we'll have to disagree on this one. I think at basic club or provincial level, the whole idea of neutral refs is wrong. It's also we haven't hard enough time finding refs. If we expect refs to be flying away from their family the whole time as well, it's not going to be conducive to keep them in the game. The Pro 14 doesn't have neutral refs for every single game, so they had like South African refs when the games were down in South Africa when the Chiefs and Kings were hosting games. And when you get to the Aviva Premiership or the gone blank, the top 14, how do you have neutral refs in a one country sort of thing? So now I don't think it's necessary at this level.
We used to have neutral refs in the NPC.
Neutral. So referees aren't allowed to. Yeah, but driving down from Auckland.
No, I absolutely agree. Your point on the travel thing. I absolutely agree on that. But I'm just sort of like we did used to in the NPC, even that sort of gone by the wayside a little bit.
So anyway, moving on from that one. Then
back into the match.
We then had an unnecessary quick line out by the Chiefs that got turned over, and a couple of turnovers, and it all got a bit messy, and they basically took us to half time, essentially. And I have promised people in the chat that we would actually talk about, or we would cover their comments at half time. So before we go to our half time discussion, a reminder from our advertisers: please do press the help button down below. The help button? No, the like button, the thumbs up down below, and do subscribe to the channel. If you would like to get emails about all the videos, then do check out the pinned comment. Thank you. And now back to the chat.
There you go. Now skip ad.
For all of you with ad blockers on your on your browsers, don't check your settings. Yeah, it's not going to catch that kind of stuff. Anyway. Barca Pundit early on said some of McKendy's decisions were really bad and putting his team under pressure. He's got to learn when to take risks and when not to. A bit more, I think his match awareness is required. I think that's harsh. I don't think McKenzie had a bad game tonight. I don't think he made too many bad decisions.
No, I'm sort of thinking a time when that did actually happen. I actually thought maybe when it did happen, it was when they're in the attacking sort of like half, in the Waratahs half anyway, where, you don't mind taking a risk because you usually can cover up a little boo-boo or something. So, don't think that VMAC had a bad game.
No, I think it's fine as well. I'm not quite sure what Yogi Bear's got to do with it and Boo Boos, but there you go. Hugh Rothwell, any idea what the crowd figure was? It didn't look great. No, it doesn't look great, and quite often they don't get a great turnout in Hamilton, to be fair, unless it's a sort of a Blues derby or a finals game. But yeah. And it's
to be fair to the Chiefs, I have to say, actually, none of the grounds really get the crowds that the teams deserve. You look at the Hurricanes, who play an attractive brand of rugby, etc., and their stadium's half full at best. Then you look at the Highlanders, that have got a covered stadium, so there's no excuses for saying it's a cold night or a rainy night. Again, their team plays very attractive rugby. It's always a fast game. Again, they take half the seats, the seats out one end of the stadium. And then you've got the Crusaders that, again, like the derby match, top of the table clash, not a sellout, not anywhere near a sellout. So it's not just the Chiefs. The sad fact is, wearing this hat, is the fact is that if the Blues were any good, they'd actually get 35,000 people along to Eden Park.
Yep, no, absolutely. You're right. It is across all the grounds. Tonight was not unusual for a New Zealand game, is what I was trying to say. Yep, basically. So yeah, if any of you fancy going to a Super Rugby game in New Zealand and you think, oh, can I just rock up to the ground and get a ticket? The answer is yes. Don't worry about the sellouts unless it's in the final series.
No, hang on. I will look. You don't want to put them crook, because the thing is that generally the tickets are cheaper if you pre-purchase them. That's all.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay.
You don't want to pay top dollar. I'm an Indian. You don't want to pay top dollar when you get there.
People in the comments, they agree with you about neutral referees, but you're all wrong.
See, he's wearing the DrivingMaul hat. Remember that, guys.
This is my channel. Oh dear, where were we? And Hugh again says, does Paul have a future in voiceovers? Probably not, but I am available.
Yeah.
My rates are really cheap. Any money's good. Anyway, so let's head on into the second half. Sorry?
Second half? Second
half, yes. Second half of the game, but we're covering, It's kind of what we're here for, apparently. On first points, the second half went to the Tars. Again, they had a disallowed try for a forward pass, and going through my notes, this one was all over the place. The Chiefs got it wrong at the line out, and I can't, and so therefore the Tars got the ball. It was the Tars line out. They tried to go around and sack it again, but got it wrong. Put the advantage over to the Tars. The Tars therefore did a crossfield kick. That Flower went really close. The ball came out, got spun all the way to the other side of the pitch, and they had a walk in, and they called one of the passers forwards. I thought it looked forwards, even though the commentators were like, "Oh, I'm not sure that was forwards." It's like, stop complaining about every single call. Jeez, guys. One of the three of them would complain about pretty much most of the calls of the evening, going, "Ooh, that's a bit harsh." No, it was forward.
It was forward. It was forward, and it's like whoever threw that pass, and I think it might have been halfback. My halfback name's gone blank. No,
not Gordon. Phipps, yes, because Gordon wants on the end. Right.
Yep, Phipps, and it's just like it was a 1 on 100 million people, and he thrown the ball forward. Look, in that movement again, disappoints me, and I think we've talked about this in previous games. And I thought Chiefs unlucky, and there was no commentary about this. Chiefs lucky not to get a yellow card. There were two advantages in that phase of play. There were two advantages, and the second one, which was closer to the sticks that they took the penalty on, was Nathan Harris rolling back into the ruck to slow the ball down to lie on top of it. Whereas, he was just unlucky. He just got it was a penalty, but it wasn't cynical. Yeah, right. Here's a toy ad for you if you ever heard one. I mean, he's rolled back into the ruck to cover off the ball so that the halfback can't get to it. But then the second crazy thing is that I don't know why the Waratahs ever thought they were going to win that game on penalties. And so it proved. They needed to be taking... You've got the two of the best backs, even though the Chiefs' back line probably operated better, I actually felt the two best backs on the night were probably Folau and Beale. They combined really well. You've got a scrum which isn't strong, but we've seen we talked about how quickly they can release the ball. You put Beale and Folau on one side of the ruck. That's a pretty good shot at scoring a try. And they took the 3.
Yeah, true. So they could, because obviously being a penalty, they could convert. They can ask for a scrum instead, and yeah, you say that ties in all the forwards into one little area and gives you space for your backs to operate. And whilst you're not a big fan of Naravoro, if he has the ball and he has like a meter space, 5 meters out, you're not going to stop him. So
you put Naravoro on one side of the scrum, you put Beale and Folau on the other. That defence has got a lot to think about.
Yep. So they continue to kick the next. They kicked another one later as well, I think, from memory. But after 63 minutes to close things up. So. Perhaps they should have done. And the second one, to be fair, was much further out, but this one, 5 meters out, great opportunity, and it's something we've seen an increasing trend of those sort of penalties being turned down and converted into scrums. 48 minutes, another line out overthrow. Well, perhaps please hit rewind if you want to go back and hear our opinions on the overthrow bit. This time, Ngatai couldn't take it on the full and actually took it sort of sliding down. But still, quick ruck ball, spun out wide. Even though the pass hit the grass from Damien McKenzie. Pulu showed some great footwork and pace to get over the whitewash, and for the second time in the night, Damien McKenzie managed to hit the upright with his conversion.
Oh look, Pulu, Tony Pulu, who has to be one of the most underrated wingers going around. Really, you give him the ball, he does something, and that try was, there was nothing on when he had to go back round, picks up the ball and goes back in field. Probably a poor missed tackle by the number 6, whose name I'm not going to get. That new guy. Disappointing effort for him, you'd have to say, and he would have been disappointed by himself. He had the good chance to chop Tony Pulu down, but as I said, he's actually a very good winger. Very good winger.
He is. And, Mr. Miller is the person you're trying to talk about.
Cam Miller?
No, because of the W Miller. Not quite sure what W stands for. Which is why I went for the Mr. Miller option.
And at the end of the night, Damien McKenzie ended up hitting the woodwork 3 times.
He did. His kicking from the right-hand side of the pitch is not very good. Basically. I'll have to read it out verbatim because I've lost track of these things now. So next one is the try to the Tars. The Chiefs' mistake gives the Tars a line out in the 22. The ball gets stopped, but a nice back's work to go over. Great conversion under pressure. Oh, this was one where Damien McKenzie ran out and nearly charged down the conversion. That was pretty impressive.
Yeah, well, not that you can see from the camera angle.
Oh, really?
I think the camera angle wasn't that great to be able to... You could see them coming and you thought, oh, he's charged this down, but it looks like... And then it makes it actually quite interesting because it looks like Bernard Foley actually curls it around the charging player. Absolutely fantastic conversion under that pressure. I'm going
for fantastic conversion and kicking skill rather than wonderful camera work to make it look good.
He's hooked it around the wall past the goalkeeper into the top of the net. But the try was a well taken try again, as well, and the fact that that you go back we'll rewind again, back to the beginning of the game. That's one of the things that the Waratahs did do, when they had the opportunities. The handling in the back line was good. And they got it through, ball in front of the man running onto it type scenario.
Yeah, it did. I mean, even though both sides had conceded 17 turnovers, there was only 5 scrums each, so pretty much, not many knock-ons, or the knock-ons, the advantage was taken rather than the scrums being given. So, both sides weren't that bad. The next try I did actually, did like, which was Webber's. Someone probably told him, but little chip over, or spots there's no one at home. Little chip over, Pulu zooms through, slows down nicely to make sure he's got every time he's exactly right to pick up the ball and put it down. Very mature play by Pulu there, composed and all those kind of lovely words.
Oh, look, the fantastic vision by the Chiefs there. If you're the Waratahs, you are sort of putting your hands in there going, hey, who was there? I mean, who was back? Obviously a lack of communication in defence, and very well read by the Chiefs to spot the open space. Comes back to the kicking game we talked about before as well, in that the Chiefs kicked to space, Waratahs kicked to man. And so Webber finds space. Pulu, I just mentioned how underrated, or I wouldn't say underrated necessarily, but he's just the anonymous winger that does brilliantly. And he uses great intellect to realise, hang on, I'm not just going to try. I'm going to wait for the ball to set up for me, and then I'll take it and I'll score the try, rather than sort of try and take it at that first attempt and knock it on.
Absolutely. A good point by Hugh Rothwell in the chat is lots of talk in non-mainstream media over here about Mick Bry's influence and skill improvement. Yes, there have been a number of tries, a number of plays where we've seen the handling of the Australian players, in particular the forwards, has improved this season, and that is down to Mick Bry's work as the skills coach over there. So there are. Sorry,
who's that?
The ex All Blacks skills coach.
Oh,
Mick Bry.
Yeah, the AFL guy.
Anyway, the work he's been doing is definitely paying off. You can see that in some of the plays we're seeing from the Australian teams. Now he is a national skills coach, so he goes around all the clubs. And it's clearly paying off. There are some, to be fair to, whilst there is a lot of despondency and negativity around Australian rugby at the moment, a lot of that's in the press. There are some good things going on. Unfortunately, we're not hearing, I don't think, the right words out of the new CEO, because she's not. It just sounds like what we've heard before, and there's nothing revolutionary coming out of her. So hopefully we'll hear some better press and see some better things coming out of it. But anyway, the Tars then camped on the Chiefs line for a little bit, couldn't get over and had to accept 3, which again, as you were saying, they couldn't afford to do that. And to keep in this game. Then it was interesting to see a big change in tactics by the Chiefs, who decided clearly, right boys, it's time to do some pick and goes. And we had a big 10 phases of just pick and go, which we'd not seen previously in the game at all. It was interesting to see that change of tactic.
Look, it's an Australian side. You got to take their forward packs on, because their forward pack, their underbelly is just not there. It's a bit soft, and so it was the right thing to do. They did do it at the beginning of the game, but then they went away from it. I think from that, one of their tries early on was a bunch load of forwards taking it up, but then they went away from it, and then as you say, they went back to it, and it's something that really every side should just do against an Australian side. It's just basically take it up in the forwards, and you will make progress.
But it's interesting. It took over an hour to come back to it. That piece. Then we have another one of these ones where the Hooper then turned over the ball, but then had another go at playing it on the floor, giving up a penalty, and DMAC actually kicked 3. So the Chiefs were also happy to Happy to do that because that stretched it out to being a 5-point rather than a 2-point lead. Obviously, with Foley's kicking ability, that's what you want to do. And then the Tars, fantastic restart, go all the way to the Chiefs line, and who saves the day? Brodie Retallick with the turnover. Best player in the world, or in the top 5 according to the chat earlier on. And that was basically the last time they really kind of had the opportunity. The couple of handling errors. The Chiefs got down into the Tars 22. Tars tried playing out a couple of times, a couple of handling errors, and unfortunately let them down.
Yeah, look, and they got a bit stiffed on a few calls in that corner in the last sort of couple of minutes as well. Angus, maybe feeling a bit lonely on the sideline, decided to get involved, even though Glenn Jackson said that the pinch out of the back of the scrum was okay by Jake Gordon, Flash Gordon. It was just like Angus thought, oh, hang on, I haven't stuck my flag out today, and said, oh no, that was all not good. So, that was a bit disappointing really, because off the back of that, obviously they scored that last try after the hooter as well. Yep,
the Chiefs scrum was fine, and then DMAC just everyone assumed DMAC would kick it off. He had a different thought in mind, nipped around the player and put the ball down for the bonus point.
I had a different thought. I didn't think that. I thought they would go for the bonus point. They did. It's just like one more. They go for the try, get the bonus point. You're down on the 22. The odds of the Waratahs streaking up the field pretty slim. So it's not unusual. I've seen it before. It's sort of like a few years ago, and it used to be the par for course. If the bonus point was on offer, teams would go for it.
No, when the opposition is still within the score, you might think twice. Depend where you are on the pitch, I think.
I think the other thing for the Chiefs is that they know that you could almost say that the Chiefs should be into the finals. It's not guaranteed, but they should be into the finals. Bonus points will help them. So I think the risk of doing it was worth it. And obviously, I was right because he scored a try.
Yeah. Hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it? So that made it 39-27. Players that stood out for you in this game?
Players that stood out, Charlie Ngatai for the Chiefs. I'm not going to say Brodie Retallick, that's like cheating.
Yeah, Charlie Ngatai.
Charlie Ngatai,
114 metres running with ball in hand was top run. The only guy who got over 100 in this game. His breaks in the first half definitely were a game changer.
You've got to remember where Charlie Ngatai's come from. He's, a lot of time off with injuries, concerns around his noggin. And so, he's been playing fullback for, quite a few of the games returning, so he hasn't really been in the midfield, a lot. So he comes back and, he fantastic performance and gave the Chiefs a lot of go forward, particularly in that first 20-30 minutes. And then for the Waratahs, Beale, star. And, obviously, you look at the way that Beale's been performing, the Wallabies, you'd be building your team and your game plan around Kurtley Beale.
Yeah, you're going to be building it around that Foley-Beale partnership. It's when you look at the Chiefs, and Damon McKenzie makes 31 passes. The only other back to make more than 10 passes is Anderson Leonard-Brown. Compare that to the Waratahs. Foley makes 32 passes. Beale makes 23 passes, twice as many as the sort of the top back in, which just shows you how much they switch round, how much they involve each other in the play, and a different style of play as well.
Different style of play, and it's just like they're using Foley when they're basically exiting or in a defensive mode, but when they're actually wanting to do something attacking, it's actually Beale that's effectively running the cutter and making the decisions on what's happening back there. What were your thoughts on the commentators' love fest with Leonard Brown? Because he's apparently here. Going by the commentators, you'd say he had an amazing game. I didn't think that. He had a good game.
He had a good game, an okay game. A better game than he's had earlier in the season. But still, what was so good about him last season, or the season before when he first came through, last 2 years, he seemed to be able to get his hands free and the offloads going. And I've not seen that this season. That his, we were talking about, his magic hands, his magician hands. And I'm not, his tackling was fine, his running was fine, he had a good game, but I didn't see those hands getting free and those lovely passes happening. And to me, that's the key part of his game. That's his point of difference. If he hasn't got that, then he's just a good midfielder.
Yep. And then on the other one, Folau had a good game, but I don't think it was up to his high standards.
No, and I think whilst we talked about the fact there was a lot of kicking in this game, he didn't get the kicks that he wanted at him.
No.
And the kicks he was making and the kicks were being made for him to take weren't working either. I think I like to see him when he's on the wing, and we get a lot more of those crossfield kicks. I think he should have got out there more to challenge for those, and we didn't see the Waratahs use that so much. I mean, the Waratahs used that in a game against was it the Rebels or the Brumbies, one of the two, and basically that just changed the entire game. They just started basically just going, we're just going to kick over to Folau, and that was
Folau, yeah. Yeah, I think it's the Rebels game.
And the Rebels just couldn't do anything to counter it. So, and if it works so well, then why don't you just give it a go? If it doesn't work, no worries. But at least try it.
Come back, let's rewind again. It comes back to what we were talking about. The Waratahs kicking game was not accurate enough tonight.
No.
And that, obviously for Folau to be able to be competitive in the air and to get that ball back, you got to put the ball in the right places, and the ball wasn't going in the right places. Obviously, in a couple of times it did get there, but not enough tonight for the Waratahs.
Yeah, and one of the things we talked about the beginning of the Crusaders game when the Waratahs went so well was the Crusaders kicking to Folau badly. Right. In this game, the Chiefs were kicking, but they weren't kicking to Folau so much. Yes, he was under a few of them, but they weren't kicking to him badly and giving him opportunities to counter-attack so much. So I don't think he was given the opportunities. Hooper is busy self, but I think quite well looked after.
Easily looked after. Didn't have the turnovers, didn't have the impact.
I think actually Karpik did quite well.
Karpik did very well. I think
a player I've not sort of known much about or seen much of, but I thought he had a good game. He also has a good He also has a good blonde barnet, so you can spot him easily, which also helps. I
think he was part of the reason why Hooper got nullified a bit. He was industrious at the breakdown, so even if he wasn't turning the ball down, and I think it was actually one of the Chiefs' tries was that because Karpik was making a nuisance of himself at the breakdown, the Waratahs sent 3 players and the ball spewed out the back of the ruck, and there was no halfback there to pick up the ball, and the Chiefs swooped on it and scored. So, Karpik had a great game and nullified Hooper, my feelings.
Yeah, I thought so. Well, I know he had a good game as well. Another guy who's got a good barnet, so I can spot him easily. So, I do like that. More defensively than attacking, to be honest. But I thought he got through a bunch of work. Wanted to see a bit more from Clark. Exciting player for the Waratahs, obviously from the Australian Sevens program, but they didn't get him into space and give him the opportunity to run.
Not his fault. They used I felt they kept using up too much space going wide instead of going forward, and therefore they were drifting across the field, and it would suck up the space that he would have had to have one-on-ones or to try and achieve something. And you could go back to that the try that was disallowed because of the forward pass, and they just wasted space going out wide instead of putting it through the hands and drawing in the defence.
Yeah, which is disappointing. I say, you see, someone I want to see more of. He's an exciting player that I want to see how he develops. But yeah, unfortunately, he didn't get that much. So just quickly go back to the. Now we come to the end. A quick advertising break. Don't forget to hit the like button down below, and if you really do enjoy this, then do subscribe and also hit the bell to not miss any of our future videos. Now we've got through that.
You really have to work on your ad voice.
I was trying to do a different ad voice. I was trying to get it sound like we had a different another person rather than the same one as we had the last two times. Rugby Nation, a shame Charlie is leaving at the end of the season. Concussion ruined his career. Totally agree. So we've said quite a few times that a lot of us think he would have been a 50 cap All Black if he hadn't had concussion at the time when the All Blacks were looking for their new centre partnership, and Ryan Crotty came in and just played extremely well, and Nartai just had too long off, unfortunately. Otherwise,
I could have seen actually that. I know they're both 12s effectively, aren't they? But you could have seen a Crotty and Nartai midfielding pairing with Sonny Bill on the bench coming on as a substitute. Because Charlie Nartai's that good. There could have been something that they might have tried out, but they never got the time.
They never got the time, unfortunately. Yep, and that was so. But yep, definitely. Hugh makes a good point. Actually, the National Sevens and Club Rugby in Sydney and Brisbane is successful. So there is definitely still the audience there in Australia. Just the media doesn't want to see it. Rugby Nation, Chiefs still in contention for title. Not so sure about that one. I think they'll make the playoffs, and anything can happen in a playoff game.
Exactly, that's what I was just going to say. Look, when it comes to the playoffs, if you got to be in the playoffs, and once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen on the Mickey Mouse Club on the day.
Sure, but I wouldn't put them down as one of the favourites for it. They could, maybe, but unlikely. But the first thing is that you got to be there to give yourself a chance. True, you have got to be there to have a chance. So the Tars now have played all their 4 Kiwi sides. So we'll see if they can hold off the Rebels and top the Australia Conference. I mean, they should do, really, shouldn't they?
Oh, look, they're a cut above the rest of the Australian teams. When you look at the way that they performed against the Crusaders, obviously they smoked the Highlanders last week. They ran the Chiefs very close today. Today they weren't far off from being on the other side of the ledger, so they're up there. There's a definite Waratahs at the top, and then there's a big gap to the rest of the bunch.
Yeah, I mean the scoreboard would say there was a 12-point difference, but this wasn't. This was 1 score difference.
Yep.
In this game.
And that game played in Sydney probably would have been a different result.
Oh, big shout!
Yeah, well, hometown. When you watch that score predictor thingy, analyzer thingy that comes out, I don't know if you get that coming through on your Twitter feed, Paul. That actually gives points for hometown advantage.
This is one that Rugby Numbers does. He does a great job at that, and yes,
very accurate. It's amazingly accurate.
So I had a competition with him last season, and I think he won by 1 round. His predictions compared to mine, so it was very close. Cool. I think I've covered everything I was going to talk about. Apparently, the Highlanders are already 3-0 up in Brisbane against the Reds.
Yeah, my wife turned the Sky Decoder off, so I'm sitting in front of a blank screen now.
How could she? So, Ashwin, come to bed. It's late. The kids will be up
out.
early in the morning. Any final thoughts?
Final thoughts.
Preferably rugby related.
In terms of that, watching that Waratahs team and sort of thinking the Wallabies, is that I think they can put together a decent backline. I think they're going to struggle to put a decent forward pack together.
Yes, and now they don't have Mario Ledesma there to train them how to scrum, or to coach them how to scrum. They could, yes. The forward coach is going to have a job in his hands.
You can only rely on the Tongan Thor so much.
So Rugby Nation is asking for predictions for next week. Well, you'll have to wait till Tuesday night for my predictions to come out, and we'll next Thursday we'll obviously preview at 8 p.m. Thursday night. We'll do a live preview of the games of next weekend. But yes, Chiefs versus Crusaders is going to be a cracker, and I'm not going to bother trying to predict right now. So Thank you very much, everyone who's joined us in the live chat. It's been great to have you. All the viewers who are watching the recording, we love having you here too. Would be great if you join us live straight after the game next time, if you want to. If you can't, then we understand. But do hit that like button down below, subscribe, hit the bell, all of that kind of stuff. Ashwin, how can people talk rugby with you during the week?
They can find me at NZFatso on Twitter, and I will see you there. And Hugh, your team did well tonight, and they're improving.
I've been Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul. Always up for good rugby chats. Obviously, comments down below also appreciated. Or you can catch me at DrivingMaul on Twitter for a chat, and you'll see that actually it was pretty cold tonight. So no wonder so it's good that they managed to hold on to balls, because you'll see that I had a nice good fire going to watch the game this evening. So cheers. Check out the old Twitter for those lovely pictures and kind of just live comments and all of that kind of lovely jubbly stuff. Good night, and see you all another time.